Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. In this video, I want to explore how what's good for Joe Biden and the Democrats was impeachment and bad for Donald Trump and the Republicans. I got two articles. One of them's an older one, but we're going to use it as a frame of reference to compare to what's going on in Gaza with Joe Biden and his administration. So we're going to start off here with the New York Post. This headline says, U.S. hits pause on precision bomb shipments to Israel to send message in protest to Gaza policy. So let's check this article out a little bit. Biden administration officials are holding up shipments of precision bombs to Israel to send a message about the Jewish state ongoing war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. While the White House has not formally scrapped this planned sale of the Boeing-made munitions, it has yet to formally approve the transaction. U.S. officials tiptoed around the report with a series of spokespeople refusing to deny it. Our commitment to Israel's security remains ironclad. We don't, as a matter of course, talk about individual shipments one way or another, National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby told the reporters. But again, nothing's changed about our commitment to Israel's security. I understand the curiosity out there, and I've seen some of the press reporting, but that's as far as I'm going to be able to go. The stalled tranche of aid includes joint direct attack munitions, along with kits converting them to precision-guided smart bombs and small-diameter bombs, used to hit stationary targets like buildings. Today's report by Politico, which cited half a dozen sources, followed an Axios report that an ammunition shipment meant for Israel has been halted last week. The Wall Street Journal reported Monday evening that the package had been held up since at least January and included up to 6,500 JDAMS. The Biden administration has repeatedly warned Israel against mounting a ground invasion of the southern Gazan city of Rafah, which they did yesterday, where about 1.5 million Palestinians are believed to have fled without having a plan to avoid civilian casualties. On Monday, Israel began bombing targets in Rafah right around the time Hamas announced it had agreed to a ceasefire deal, though Israeli officials said the proposal was unacceptable to its side. Biden spoke to Netanyahu on Monday and reiterated his position that we don't want to see operations in Rafah that put at risk those millions. We don't want to see operations in Rafah that put at risk those 1.5 million people that are there, Kirby said at the time. Meanwhile, top Republicans in Congress lashed out at the president over the reported delay. And the reason would be Congress has approved those munitions, and the last time a president had halted aid was President Trump. This is from an NBC News report from January 2020. The Trump administration violated the law by withholding military aid to Ukraine, the U.S. Government Ability Office said in a decision released Thursday. In the summer of 2019, the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, withheld the obligated funds appropriated for the Department of Defense for security assistance to Ukraine, the nonpartisan government watchdog's ruling said. Well, I wonder what they're saying about Joe Biden withholding this shipment. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty much the same thing. And furthermore, they went on to impeach Donald Trump over this. So, faithful execution of the law does not permit the president to substitute his own policy priorities for those that Congress has enacted into law. OMB withheld funds for a policy reason, which is not permitted under the Impoundment Control Act, the ICA. The withholding was not a programmatic delay. Therefore, we conclude that the OMB violated the ICA. An Appropriations Act is a law like any other. Therefore, unless Congress has enacted a law providing otherwise, the president must take care to ensure that appropriations are prudently obligated during their period of availability, the decision says. Considering that Israel is a NATO ally, whereas Ukraine isn't, that alone means that the United States is obligated to help Israel in times of war, whereas not obligated to help Ukraine, though the Democrat leadership seems to prioritize funding to Ukraine over funding to Israel, especially in this situation. They're halting shipments to an ally in Israel to prevent our ally from doing what they need to do to secure themselves. They impeached Trump for withholding aid to Ukraine, who was not an ally, and at the time, it was very well known that they had a corrupt government. Not to mention Joe Biden getting the prosecutor fired over there that was investigating Burisma, which his son Hunter was on the board. But the Constitution grants the president no unilateral authority to withhold funds from obligation. If the White House wanted to withhold the funds, the president had an obligation to notify Congress and provide detailed and specific reasoning to justify the withholding, the decision said. Back to the first article. So when we thought it was only university presidents that are caving to the absurd demands of the pro-Hamas students, the president himself has now reportedly halted ammunition shipments to Israel, according to House Speaker Mike Johnson. If this is true, President Biden is clearly trying to placate the pro-Hamas element of his party. This is not the will of Congress. Last month, Congress passed a $26.3 billion package for both military aid to Israel and humanitarian assistance for the Palestinians. Biden has come under intense pressure from his left flank over the Israel-Hamas war. Hundreds of thousands of Democratic primary voters have marked themselves as some variation of uncommitted in protest of his handling of the conflict, which has been minimal, right? On Tuesday, Biden pleaded with the public to push back on the rising scourge of anti-Semitism and reaffirmed the U.S. support for the Jewish state. Anti-Semitic posters, slogans calling for annihilation of Israel. And so I just wanted to point out the hypocrisy that I've only seen a few others mention. And then I want to add that I don't actually think that it's good for Republicans or Donald Trump if Joe Biden were to be impeached at this point. All it would allow the Democrats to do is replace him in this upcoming election. And right now, currently, it seems like Trump is pretty much leading in the majority of categories in a lot of states and a lot of polls. That doesn't mean that the Republicans should be complacent, or that the anti-Joe Biden or the pro-America people or the pro-I want to have a better life people should be complacent. It just means that there's a bright outlook for our future, the future of our country, that we might be able to get out of this Joe Biden rut and get back to some of the greatness that we experienced under the Trump administration during his first 4 years. And it's just real obvious what's going on with their attacks on Trump and their leeway that they give to Biden. It's all a bunch of virtue signaling. They have no principles. They'll throw Trump in the fiery furnace for doing something, and then if Biden went and did the same exact thing, they're going to go ahead and forgive him and vote for him again, essentially. So hopefully you guys agree with that. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.